Hi, I'm Shein Shanin and this is the Evening Highlights. Bank Negara thinks something's up at 1MDB and that the AG's chambers needs to make a move. But the state prosecutor says the central bank didn't do its job in the first place, which is why it ended up clearing the fund's officials. Last Thursday, the AG's chambers said it decided not to prosecute 1MDB officials for allegedly making inaccurate disclosures to get the permissions for overseas investments. This despite an appeal by Bank Negara which flagged the possible offences. The AG's chambers explains it believes that 1MDB had not committed an offence because the central bank had not stopped the remittances. He said Bank Negara had not pressed for more information either. In fact, it granted the permissions within 3 days. Following the AG's chamber's statement last week, Bank Negara revealed that it had revoked 3 permissions it granted to 1MDB for investments abroad, totaling $1.8 billion. It has ordered the fund to repatriate the funds to Malaysia. Meanwhile, Bernama reports that the outcome of the National Audit Department's probe into 1MDB's accounts will be released in about 3 months. Citing a top official, it says the first phase is done and that the department is NPW into the second phase, which requires a more detailed probe into matters abroad. As for the MACC's probe into 1MDB's former subsidiary, SRC International, the Star Online reports that the investigation could be completed by the end of the year. But he declined to reveal the identity of the powerful person being investigated in relation to SRC, as mentioned by the MACC's outgoing Deputy Chief Commissioner for Management and Professionalism, Datuk Sri Zakaria Jaafar yesterday. Any hope that the ringgit will recover anytime soon is just wishful thinking. Dutch financial services provider Rabobank says the ringgit is facing off with external economic forces. There's a further devaluation of the yuan and the US Fed rate hike looming. So there's little Malaysia can do on its own to stem the currency rout. Rabobank's research head for the region, Michael Every, warns that the 2 factors would serve as a double whammy on the ringgit.
Unfortunately, I think the ringgit is a currency that is exposed to that. And I think that we would retest the lows that we've just seen. And it wouldn't surprise me to see if we broke through the psychological 450 level. We could even maybe go to 460, 470. Potentially in an absolute worst case scenario, and I do stress absolute worst case scenario, even towards something like 5.
And last week's rebound, Every says that was just temporary. The local currency has lost more than 16% against the US dollar so far this year. It was trading at 4.1860 against the greenback today. And speaking of the ringgit, Hi-O Enterprise, which makes traditional herbal and pharmaceutical products, says gross margins have inched lower this year because of the weakening ringgit.
Okay, based on our rough estimated, year to date, the ringgit Malaysia against the USD is dropped about 20%. So we estimated about 1 to 2% of our GP margin.
He told the press after the company's AGM, this is why Hi-O now wants to pay its suppliers in China in renminbi.
Yeah, in fact, we negotiate most of our major supplier in China. So majority of them, they agree to use the renminbi as a settlement currency. This will help us to in our purchase planning. Most of them, they agree. In fact, also part of their China government strategy to internationalize the renminbi as a medium for the settlement of the international trade.
40% of Hi-O's purchases are imports and 80% are in USD. Ampang Park, the nation's very first shopping mall, is set to be torn down. In its place, an MRT station for an upcoming line connecting Sungai Buloh to Serdang and Putrajaya. According to our sister site, The Malaysian Insider, the government is in the process of buying the site. This would enable the MRT station to be physically integrated with the existing Ampang Park LRT station just across the road. The new MRT station would be underground, but constructing it would require the mall to be demolished. The FT Land and Mines Department will be serving a notice to the landowner to notify him of the acquisition. Ampang Park was built in 1973. It has a built-up area of 425,000 square feet. And that's a wrap for this edition of the Evening Highlights. I'm Shein Shanin. Thank you so much for watching and good night.